These are an absolutely phenomenal walking pole. So as you can see, we're back out again. I'm feeling a little bit better than I was last week, still a little bit under the weather, but I'm alright. As you can see, there's a glaring change to me. I've now turned into Joe 90. So, one of them things to live with. I've needed the glasses for a long time and just never bothered wearing them, and it's something I've needed to get because my eyesight's getting really, really bad. So, I'm stuck with them. It's one of them things. But today, got Dylan with me again, and we're going to talk about trekking poles. So I brought a few different ones with you to show you, all ones that I've previously used, other than my new set which I'll show you, which I haven't actually used yet, but I'm very impressed with. They're all on the budget end because I don't see the point in spending a fortune on them. I do get that the lights of carbon fiber's a lot lighter, but it's not something I need. I don't mind a little bit of extra weight on them. Just at a little local spot now, so we'll get the bags off, we'll get the poles out, give you a little bit of discussion about all of them, tell you the pros and cons, tell you which would be my pole of choice. So the first set of poles that we're going to be looking at are these poles by Silva. As you can see, they're quite a long pole. They go up to 140, and I think the minimum they do is 110. So these poles are £51.95. They come in at 213 grams each, which out of all the poles today is actually the lightest I've got, which is astounding considering the strength behind them. And they go from 105mm right up to 140mm. Things that I do like about these poles, obviously the additional length is really good. They were bought for my Tap Tent Double Rainbow DW Ultra because you can use a 140mm pole along the bottom to give you a bit more structure and to make it fully freestanding. I also liked, when I bought them, the fasteners for your hands. It's a glove style, which for me seemed like it was going to be a really, really good idea when I bought them. The one problem you get is, especially when you're filming, with other poles where I can just take my hand out the loop and get rid of them, these, as you can see, are permanently attached. So if I don't need the poles, or if I need to get some filming done and I don't want the poles in my hand, it's a pain to take off. The other thing is, this can be quite time consuming because you have to fasten these back up. Because with it being Velcro, that catches a lot of your clothes, it can ruin it, especially if you get anything that's mesh. It's a big thing I don't like. Another thing that I don't particularly like about these is, as much as I like a cork grip and they're very nice, the tops of these are not very good for using with any form of trekking pole tent. It's very sharp at this top, and I find I have to put a couple of pairs of gloves on there just for peace of mind to make sure that that doesn't punch through my tarps or my trekking pole tents, which isn't ideal. I do like the length, however, one thing that we had noticed with it actually began to corrode. Now, I dry all my poles after I've been out, I wash them down. I've had some of the other poles I've got with me today for upwards of 5 years and never ever had this issue. This pole I've had less than a year, and like I said, they weren't overly cheap at £51.95, whatever I said they were. They are quite strong, although on a previous video that I did with trekking poles, I actually bent one of these just walking with it. So that's something to be mindful of. That being said, they are quite good to walk with. They do support you well and they do feel quite sturdy. Another thing that I do like about these poles is the single adjustment. With it being a longer pole, it does make it stronger and it's really easy to adjust. So for me, I use it about 130, so I know I can get it straight to there, clip, and I'm ready to go. Whereas anything with more than one adjustment, like the other two poles I've got, can be a bit more of a faff to set up. So if I need a pole quickly, these are really, really good to have. Yeah, I just think, for me, out of all the poles I've got today, these are probably the worst ones I've owned. So Silva, you need to step up your game because you are the biggest brand out of the three. Next, we have the Alpkit poles. So these are the Alpkit Alpine Trail. These were the first poles I bought when I started hiking again. As you can see, they're double jointed, and these are £39.99 a pair. They weigh in at 251 grams each, so by far the heaviest poles that we've got with us today. The grips on them, as you can see, has a foam grip, very, very comfortable to hold. And the big plus to these grips, as you can see, a nice round top on it, which is really, really good for tarps and for trekking pole tents. I also like the simple strap system, put your hand through and hold. Just keeps it on there, but if you need to get out, it's as simple as that. You have the option still for tightening it, pulling this, but I tend to keep it loose just to make sure it doesn't fall off my wrist. Things that I like and don't like about these poles. The major dislike I've got is that they're a suspension pole. Had I known this when I bought them, I wouldn't have bought them. It hadn't been the biggest issue, because I don't know if you can see this, but there is a twist mechanism on them. So you've got, if you unlock it, that gives you the suspension, and if you lock it, that should fix it. The problem you get with this is, and I'll show it you when it's set up, when you put it in the ground and you're walking, so easy to make it twist that little bit, and then you end stuck with the suspension. The reason I don't like that is, mostly if I'm using a pole, it's if I'm going over boggy land or something like that, and I want to make sure it's safe to walk on. If this is moving backwards and forwards like that, I can't guarantee that the ground I'm walking on is going to be firm. The joints on it, like I said, it's double jointed. They're just simple buckles. You undo both, and there's your adjustment. So I tend to adjust the small one pretty much to its max. I go to about 125 on there. And on the top one, this is where I get my finer adjustments. On this now, unfortunately, a lot of my numbers are worn off, so I know roughly the size that I'd need it. And as I've ever show you, look, there's no movement in that at the minute, but if I turn that suspension on, my hand moves quite significantly up and down. Now if I turn it off, I'll show you, when you get it in the ground, it's very easy, and the suspension's now on again. And that's my major problem with these poles, and this is why I swapped them out. Things that are really not good about it is the amount of flex you get in this pole. This bottom area, as you can see, is very, very thin. So even just that, I can flex that pole more than I can with the whole Silva. But the whole pole itself has a hell of a lot of flex in it, which, as I said before, they'd be very good for tarps and trekking pole tents. While the grip is on the top, my concern would be how flexible that is at the bottom. Is that going to bend and snap? And I don't know if I'd be comfortable taking that in high winds. But like I said, when I was looking at the Silva poles, I've had these poles for 5+ years now. And other than a few scratches and a few scrapes, they're still as good as they've ever been. I've never even had to re-tip them. Really, really good pole, really recommended at the price, if you can cope with that suspension on it. For me, that was a deal breaker. This is why I replaced them. What I'll do now is, as with the Silva poles, I'll get Dill to walk with them now, show you how to walk with, because these are actually Dill's current poles. So finally, the last set of poles that I've got with me are my new ones, and they are the Jungle Kings. So these are the Jungle Kings. As you can see, they actually come in their own little carry bag. Bought these from AliExpress. They cost me £24, and they come in at just 218 grams, so just short of what the Silvas do. As you can see with the size of them, they are a hell of a lot more compact than they are. Still 3-piece poles, but these are 3-piece different, and they've got a nice little feature on that I've not seen with another 3-piece pole. So what I'll do is I'll unpack them. I'd like to add the packets that are in these bags. They'll not be staying in, I'll keep them like this. But if I show you the pole, it comes with a nice little strap on it, just a little Velcro. You just undo that and then slide your pole out. So then your pole comes, as I said, in 3 separate pieces. So all you do is you push your 3 pieces together, like so. And then what you do is you pull this tight, and as you can see, there's just a little bit that comes out which holds it tight. This pole then, and this is the feature I've not seen anywhere else, actually has one of these clasps on, very much like the Alpkit, but it's actually a metal handled clasp, and it's really nice to use. And this now ranges anything from 110 right up to where I'd normally walk at 130. The website for these claims they have 30 centimetres to 130, and in theory they are, because that one folded is 30 centimetres, but you're not going to use them like that. So for me, these are 110 to 130s. And they're a fantastic pole. They're still thinner, but they're really, really strong. There's no real flex in that. Obviously, they're solid. There's no movement down. They've got a nice rounded top on it. So once again, be really, really good for tarps and for using with trekking pole tents. Foam grip again, which is actually really, really comfortable. And it's a nice long foam grip, which I like. And I love the colour. I'm not going to lose these anywhere. And for some that cost me £24, these are by far the cheapest trekking poles I've got with me today, other than the outside choice, and that's only cheaper because they come in singles. But these are absolutely phenomenal from what I've seen so far. Really, really good build quality. Like I said, I had a punt on AliExpress just to see what I could get, because the Silvas are getting a bit knackered, and these are what came up. And Fish, who I go camping with, who you've seen on the channel before, he has a lot of their products and swears by them, so I gave it a shot, and I'm really glad I did, because the build quality on these are phenomenal. And like I said, I have no affiliation to any of these products. These are all things I've bought myself. But yeah, if their products are this good, it's definitely something I'll be looking at again in the future. Longevity of them, I don't know how long that will be. That's what time will come, but if you want to see what that is, give me a subscribe and watch for future videos, because these will be coming out on my hikes and they will be coming out on my camps, and you'll find out from there. But what I'll do now is I'll take the end caps off, which is another nice little feature, get Dylan to have a little walk with them, get you to show him what's what. And what I'll do on this time, because Dylan's going to try them for the first time, I'll get Dylan to tell you how they feel to walk with.
I can see it in your face. So I just tested them. That's the only issue I don't like, is that they wobble a little bit when you're walking. I think it's due to the thin metal pieces that it's using, so I think it could be a bit stronger. When you're walking, you don't really notice it until you're pulling your stick away. That's when you feel the wobble. Other than that, you don't really notice it at all. These feel really nice to walk with. Another thing that I love about them is you can unscrew the top, like so, and get to the string, so you can adjust how long the string is, and if it does snap, you can change the string. Compared to the other two, I rate them possibly top at the moment. Based on just that one that we did then, I think they would be at the top of my list that I would personally go and get now. I am looking to get another pair at some point. It might be these, I'm not quite sure yet.
So one thing, just to carry on from what Dale was saying about the banding with these poles, what I have noticed is the poles seem quite long for the size. So if I go at 130, which is where I'd normally walk with other poles, that's really high up on my hand, whereas when I do this with the Silvas or with the Alpkits, my hand is probably more like here, so it's quite a big difference. And when it's at the 130 or the 125 where Dale walks, if you notice when it hits the ground, there is a hell of a lot of movement in that pole. It doesn't really flex too much, it just vibrates. But what I have noticed on these is I can actually walk on these at about 120 if it seems good, and the amount of banding on that, as you can see, is considerably less. Now, I don't know if it's a design flaw by them. I think the fact that the aluminium on them, as you can see, is very, very thin. It's similar to what you got in the bottom of the Alpkit, which I presume helps keep that weight down, and that will create a bit more flex. But if I flex this in my hands, once again, there's no real flex in it, and that's at that 125, at 120. And if I go up to the 130, still only a little bit of flex in it. So I'm presuming that's what's causing it. That and this knuckle here. So even though that is a good design, because you've got to pull it tight, there's possibly not very much material left in here. I wouldn't know. I'd have to get a set and pull them apart to check that, but I presume that's what's causing it. All in all, it's not one of them things that's overly that bad. You know, if I walk with it, it feels fine. You do feel the vibration. It's something I'll have to get used to, but like I said, we'll test them long term. We'll see where they are. Prior to this video, these were the number one. Where do I sit now? Time will tell. The Silvas, I still think are my third choice. and the Alpkits still have their issues, and I think the issues that they've seen so far with these don't outweigh what they've got, so we'll see from there. So what I'll do now is I'll bring you the outside choice, and these are the poles that Steph has, and on them ones, this isn't something, I've actually only got one pole because she only walks with one, and they're not something I will buy, and I'll show you why. So this is the pole that Steph uses. It's the Forclaz 500. I think these poles are about £12.99 each. And once again, you've got 3 sections to it. So you have a bottom section, which you pull out, and once again, you pull it out, and that should, but it's not doing, that's why it's inside here. It should, when you pull it out, if you look, you've got another one of them clips. But on this, because the clip is on the inside of the frame, which it isn't on the Jungle King, you get a lot more rigidity on it, because you've got where the peg is, and you've probably got an extra couple of inches on the inside of pole, which makes it quite strong. The main issue for me is your maximum size, and it does say 130, but 130 on these feels really small, and as you notice, it for a thicker pole, you've still got all that flex. Now, I also don't like the big girthy grip. I've got big hands, but it feels, and this is going to make me sound horrible, but it feels unnatural in my hand. I prefer something thinner. It feels comfier to hold. That is quite bulky, and I don't like the big dopey plastic top. And these wrist straps, horrible to use. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're on a budget, not a bad pole. You need a pole, you need a pole. I haven't weighed them because, like I said, they're an outside choice, but I would say they feel quite light. I'd go in the realms with these of very similar to maybe the Jungle Kings. I think they're probably lighter than the Alpkits, and a lot of that is down to the grip, because you've got very cheap plastics used and quite a thin foam, even though it's girthy. Whereas, and even the plastics on the clips, it's very, very cheap plastics. Whereas with the Alpkit, there's a lot more metal components, a lot better quality plastics used, and that just adds weight, unfortunately. Now, like I said, they're not for me, these. Steph likes them, they were cheap and cheerful. The other issue I've had is the tips on them wear out really quick on these, which isn't ideal, but it was an outside choice. Like I said, there's only one of them. I won't show anybody walking with them because it's a singular pole on its own. It won't be a fair comparison, but if this is something that you're interested in and something that meets your needs and something you like, let me know, because for me, I've never got along with these poles. She got these before I got my Alpkits, and I'd rather use a stick, because it's a similar feeling to having a stick in your hand. It's no more comfortable than having a stick in your hand, and I just don't like them. What we'll do now is get a couple of different types of packs out. I've got my 55 litre and I've got my 30 litre with me, and I'll show you how all of these poles sit on the packs, just so you can get that comparison. that's the trekking poles. We've got the Silva, got the Alpkit, and we've got the Jungle King. Now, even filming this video has been a bit of a learning curve. Like I said, we've never had these out of the packet before. Because we've never used any of these ones that are fold up this small before, we're used to this sort of size, or worst case, these longer ones. Trying to get these on some of the fasteners that are built into the backpacks has been an interesting thing. Although he did come up with a really, really good point with one of them, to just stick it in the pocket because it's that small. And he said, you know, for him, he always hikes in a hoodie, he always camps in a hoodie. He'll put it there, you know. It doesn't need to be hanging it on these straps on the back. We've done it for the purpose of the video. Which poles do we choose? So for me, based off the information that we have today, and like I said, this is something that I can further revisit in the future, and if you want to see any of that, please subscribe and watch some more of the videos. But the Silvas, they're the most expensive. Value for money, these are last place for me. I can't get over the fact that these cost so much more than the rest of them, and I suffer from that by no fault of my own. Like I said, all my poles are well looked after, they're all cleaned, they're all dried down, and I even let them dry fully extended after I've dried them. I will not put them fully away until they're done, and for it to corrode like that, I don't know what caused it, and I just expect better from a big company like Silva. So for that, these are definitely last place. That, and I just don't get why you would put a nice cork grip on and then a big sharp hard plastic top on. It just doesn't make sense to me. Second place, and it's a close second place between second and first, because these have a very dear place in my heart, and it's purely just off that mechanism. It's a personal preference. I do not like the suspension, and I don't like that even locked there's still movement, but I don't like that it just comes on so easy. And for that, these have to come second. But these are an absolutely phenomenal walking pole, and they have served me well for a lot of years. And if it wasn't for the bit on the inside where the markings have come off, they'd probably last another 5 to 10 years. They've been bomb-proof, and well done, Alpkit. Always been a big supporter of yours, as you can see with the top. Always been a big supporter of Alpkits, but they have been really, really good. And in first place, and surprisingly only just, whereas when I was coming out today, these were mega at the top, it's these Jungle King poles. For me, I can't look past the fact that these were under £25. They came in less than a week. They've got some really, really good features, like Dill said, where you can adjust from the top just to adjust your cables inside or to replace them. I like that they fold up so small, despite the fact that we couldn't figure out how to put them in a bag at first. But like we said, we'd probably store them on the inside. Sorry, there's a train coming past. And I like the colour, I like the material, and I really, really like this grip. And I'm struggling to find any real faults. There is a bit of flex, but all walking poles have a bit of flex. And there is some features that I'd change in them. Like I said, I'd put that peg that comes out, very similar to what you get with the Forclaz one. But for me, not a standout winner, but definitely first place. Like I said, whether I'll feel that way in a year's time, time will tell. I am going to take them on a few tarp camps, a few tent camps, use them as trekking poles to hold things up. We'll see how they hold up. They'll be coming on hikes with me. We'll see how they hold up with that. And I'll let you know in future if my opinion changes. But for now, these are definitely the winners. So, that being said, thank you again for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Catch you in a bit.